You've dealt with a lot of special teammates. I mean, I know it because I grew up watching you play, watched you as a professional. You've dealt with a lot of people. What set Dwight apart from everyone else?
Well, I think it was all of it. It was everything, right? So you think about the iconic play that he was a part of that really set this franchise on an unbelievable run. And then the personality of the guy, you know, he was just down home, you know, sweet and good. And he actually cared about people. He cared about his teammates, he cared about his fans. And you felt that when you were around him. He was so engaging, all the personality, good-looking dude. I mean, he just kind of had it all. And he was sincere, right? And so I think people around him felt that and felt it, you know, sincerely.
Keena, you've dealt with a lot of egos in this league. Dwight had it all, like you're saying. Why wasn't he kind of, I'm Dwight Clark, I'm the man? And what set him apart like that?
You know, I think that had to do with who he was, you know, where he was from, his home life, his father, and the family of it all, right? That he didn't get lost. You know, I used to say that he never got lost in the play. You know, he had a great appreciation for it. He had such a you know, feeling for all the fans that it meant so much to. He loved sharing the moment, but the catch wasn't who Dwight was as a person, and he didn't have to try and be something. You know, he was never trying to be, you know, the catch. He was always just trying to be Dwight. And I think that was sincere, and it played well for him, right? It fit him. And I think that people got that genuine feeling about kind of who he was.
Why were you guys so close, whether during your playing days or after the playing? I mean, he's a good-looking offensive guy. You're on the defensive side of the ball.
That wasn't good-looking, right? So I always wanted to be around him, right? You just, because he would have a crowd, and you never know, you know, somebody might like me in the crowd. I don't, you know, listen, it was so special what we had. And what I have found, and life has a way of, you know, we go in all of these different directions because life kind of gets in the way of relationships sometimes. But the one thing that's always been true about that group of guys and why it was so special is that no matter what happens, when we come together, and most of the time it's for fun, it's like we never left. It's like we were never apart. And so that's how I felt about Dwight. We didn't spend a lot of time together over these, you know, number of years, right? Obviously a lot of time in the locker room, a lot of, you know, great moments that happened that we shared that we could come back to. But when we got back together as teammates and as people, the closeness never left. It was like yesterday. It was like we were back in the locker room. And so when he, you know, when this hit him, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody, you know, the connection was still there. The relationship was still there. Fundamentally, you know, what we had and shared 30 years ago never went away. And so it was very easy to reconnect and bond and walk with him. You know, and he wanted that from his teammates, and I'm glad he did. You know.
It's strange to ask this question, but what is his legacy? What is he going to leave behind now that he's up in heaven?
Well, I think on the football side of it, the mark that he left on this organization will stand the test of time. You know, Dr. Edwards always says, you know, in 50 years, 100 years, when you look back, what will they say? I think what they'll say about Dwight and the catch is that, like we're saying today, most iconic moment in the history of the organization, set us on a track and a pace. What they'll say about the man is the same thing, is that yes, he was someone that connected with his teammates, connected with the fans, was sincere in who he was, and was his own man in the way that he walked this life, and he left things better than he found them.
Mr. D told us Dwight and Joe were like husband and wife. I don't know which one was which.
Yeah, I don't think I'd argue with that.
Is there anything that you saw behind the scenes? You know, we saw Dwight publicly for decades, but what did you see behind the scenes of Dwight Clark?
You know, I think what's interesting, and I think this is why he's so beloved, is he was the same guy. You know, what you saw in public, his authenticity, his sincerity, his love for kind of life. He had this zest for life. He enjoyed life. He lived it to the fullest. And that's the lesson for me, right, is to enjoy and exhaust it every single day. And appreciate the relationships, the friendships, because you know, at the end of it, you know, we've got the rings and we got the relationships, you know, and those are the two things that you know, that stand some test of time.
When you got the call that he finally passed away, where were you and what went through your mind? What was your reaction?
Well, you know, this last, you know, several months have been hard because we went to see him 2 weeks before he passed, and he, you know, he didn't look good because he was just still losing the weight. And but man, his spirit, he had an unbelievable spirit through it all. And you know, we got a call that morning to say, oh, you know, Dwight's not doing well, his energy's not there. You know, we were supposed to meet at a restaurant. It turned into maybe, maybe not. Then it went to, can you come to the house? And so when we got there, like every other time I had seen him recently, when he hadn't been doing well, had a tough night, had a tough morning, he just got energized. And he was just so engaged in all of the moments that we shared. And so that's, you know, that's what I want to remember. You know, I want to remember how engaged he was, how supportive he was, how he always asked how we were doing when we got together in those last months. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
So we wrap this up. Do you want further research with ALS or maybe head injuries in football? I mean, where do you stand on that? Because this, you know, there could be a correlation here.
Yeah, I mean, making football safer, I'm all for that. You know, ALS is a different animal, man. That is an awful disease. It's an awful disease. And whether or not head injury has anything to do with it, I don't know. But we need to get answers to ALS. It is an awful, awful disease that affects a lot more people than we realize. You know, the numbers may not be there, you know, and maybe that's why there's not a lot of attention or money or focus on ALS, but there needs to be, because it's an awful disease.